Hey everyone. Today I have Chris from Lifter LMS, for a client interview. Basically, we're going to talk about how Chris increases trial conversions by 14.4% with just the first week that we've made, to his website, basically. So why don't you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit more about Lifter LMS?
Awesome. Well, I'm Chris Badgett, the CEO and co-founder of Lifter LMS, which is a learning management system for WordPress. And we help course creators create, launch, and scale high-value online training programs.
Awesome. And how exactly do you guys do that? Like, what are the steps that the creator needs to take, and why is it more accessible than all of these other platforms that they might host their courses on?
Well, the main thing is, what the big aha moment that people have is that they realize that they can have an entire learning management system, whether they call it a course, a membership site, a coaching program, an online school. They can do it all from the WordPress website that they already have and connect it with the tools that they're already using without getting locked into an inflexible platform that has monthly pricing. So those are the main factors that why people choose Lifter LMS.
Awesome. And I remember you had a really good story on why you created this, right? So can you give us a little bit of an intro of why you created Lifter LMS and what you're doing before that?
Sure. So as of this recording, Lifter LMS is almost 6 years old. For many years before the founding of the product, we ran an agency where we would build custom LMS solutions for high-end coaches. And so these are in health and fitness, real estate, business, these kind of niches. And essentially there was no good off-the-shelf solution. We used WordPress to develop our sites because that's what clients love and know how to use. And most of them are already using it to begin with. So we decided to just build an all-in-one solution that what people were doing previously is they were stringing together all these different products made by these different companies. I call that the software Frankenstein to make kind of a solution. So we're like, this is ridiculous. Let's just build the all-in-one solution for WordPress that combines LMS, membership, e-commerce, and engagement. And that's what we did 6 years ago. So literally our high-paying clients pulled the product out of us. So that's how we kind of launched with product market fit right away.
Yeah, awesome. I think it's a really interesting story because obviously the prices that you were charging were also way higher because you're creating custom websites out of these things. So I think is always a great story. So if you look back at the beginning, what were you doing before you started working with me? What were you working on at the time?
Before Lifter?
No, before we started working together on these changes.
Geez. So because we're bootstrappers, there's a lot. So I consider myself, and I have a technical co-founder, but I don't do everything, but I'm pretty full stack. But I'm not very good. I'm good at doing a lot of things, but I got to a point in my career where I realized I just need people that are better at specific things to help me out. So before we started working together, I was constantly working on content marketing. That's our main organic engine of growth. So podcasts, blogs, content pages on our website, other people's podcasts, other people's blogs, going to conferences, and really investing in my own learning and trying to level up across the 6 areas of business, which are sales, marketing, product, customer success, operations and admin, and engineering. So I've just been incredibly busy across all that, just trying to survive as a bootstrap founder.
Yeah, I guess a lot of other bootstrap founders can relate to that. But what kind of problems did you have specifically around, converting visitors at the time?
Well, because our product is so flexible, I've always, I'm a decent marketer and conversion guy, but I'm not great. And because our product is so flexible and it's used in lots of different use cases, it's always been a challenge to clearly communicate in a way where we present it, but we don't alienate the people that are using it in all kinds of different ways. So that's always been the challenge. And we have a freemium model.
Yeah.
So, and it's a complex product. It's not like some softwares that kind of do this like one trick, like, oh, I'm going to help you get opt-ins. But when you have a platform level product, there's just a lot of complexity, and people have a lot of questions when they're in research mode trying to find the solution for their project. So that's always been a challenge of communicating, marketing, and converting around a platform product.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I can totally understand that, because obviously if people were like duct taping together all these different solutions, then they
Yeah.
probably wouldn't even aware that something that could do all of this will even existed. Um, with that being said, like how were you trying like to fix these problems? Like what have you playing around with the website, or how you explain the products to try to get
Yeah.
around those issues and those questions?
Well, one thing I've done is invest in my own education. So I'm constantly learning through podcasts. Like I do this morning 3-mile walk or run every single day. I've been doing that for 10 years. So during that time, I listen to podcasts and audiobooks. And that's really where I get a lot of my learning, and just self-taught marketer, copywriter, but I try to learn from other people. I've joined programs like SaaS Academy, which is a place where software founders go to learn and grow in a community with Dan Martell. So I invest a lot in my own learning. I also run a lot of experiments. So that could be try this new thing, like this marketing tactic, like this ad, or maybe try a new elevator pitch to see if that resonates more and people get more excited. Um, I've burned down and rebuilt our marketing funnel across prospects, users, and customers 3 times at this point. So those are the things there's just so much to do and never enough time, that I'm
Yeah.
always looking for. And this is why I was really excited that I found you, is like that you hear this idea that little hinges swing big doors. Like I can make a little tweak that has a big impact. That's what I'm always looking for. I'm not scared of hard work and big projects, but I know there's low hanging fruit out there if I get the right learning or get the right help from the right person or the right tactic.
Yeah, awesome. I mean, what I'm all about is really not just doing like a small little tweak, but more like the low hanging fruit, because it doesn't necessarily mean that it's gonna take no work at all. It always takes some work. It's just like the easiest thing that we can do to get the best results. Is not necessarily like some magic like you've seen, because you're
Right.
probably playing around a lot with the website and you've seen like it's not really magic. Um, so when you were like redesigning your website like 3 times or something like that before we did that tweak, that got you the 14.4 increase in the trials. What were like some of your frustrations that you're facing? Like, because obviously that's a ton of work, redesigning the entire website.
Well, some of the biggest frustrations were lots of traffic and a lower conversion rate. And by lots of traffic for us, we get, it's somewhere between 30 and 50,000 hits a month these days. So we're getting lots of traffic, just wanted to convert more of it, basically. I mean, it's not that we do
Yeah.
a bad job, but so there's that frustration. The other thing is we're pretty high touch with our customers and our prospects. So I'm constantly on like sales webinars or group sales calls I run and things like that. So I hear a lot of confusion when I talk to people. So like, hey, how does your pricing work? Or can it do this thing, which it says it does on the features page or whatever? Like, so that's the big frustration is people, it's not crystal clear. And I understand the challenge because it's a complex product. So that's another one, just clarity of the offer and the messaging. I'm always surprised at that. And then I'm also surprised, the other big frustration is there is a lot of misinformation in the market around various tools or how this compares to that and this kind of thing. So that's always been a big frustration is once people do get there, they're often misinformed.
Okay, and what kind of misinformation do you see, people getting elsewhere?
So there's a lot of sometimes people's marketing gets away from them, and what I mean by that is I see marketing get optimized with around things that just aren't true. So it could have to do with what features this product has and that product doesn't. It could be just misinformation about who it's for, like customer avatar stuff, where certain products are positioned for small business or enterprise when it's not like exactly true. It's marketing that's not it's just misinformation basically. So that's the big frustration. And I know it's a challenge, and sometimes customers or users themselves will incorrectly like position something or whatever. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about more companies themselves, or various like bloggers and things like that, just going for clicks but not clarity of accuracy.
Yeah, got it. I mean, I think that makes total sense because there's a lot of interest in not saying it the way it is, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I think those frustrations make total sense. Obviously, the stuff that we worked on was that week on right before they get the trials. So there's a lot of intent there, but there's also like a lot of hesitation. So that's why it worked really well. And we'll be like right after this, we'll be focusing on how we can fix all those other frustrations and get rid of those misconceptions, right? Because this was a really good test, worked really well. So now we know that the rest is going to work even better, right? Just going to
you were spot on, like focusing on like, hey, let's focus on the trial sales page is that's what like you mentioned, it is low hanging fruit. It was like the perfect strategic place to focus on. And but I know a lot goes into that making that perfect, and what you did really well was just a fresh set of eyes with a copywriter's mind who understands the market is super helpful to get that 14% conversion increase. Was awesome.
Yeah, awesome. Because I mean, the other thing is that it was like it wasn't like you got more leads or something like that. It was directly the amount of free trials, the amount of paid trials that which is like your number one goal in terms of conversions. And the best thing here is that usually other SaaS companies might focus on free trials or free trials with credit cards. Yours is actually a paid trial, so there's actually an even bigger commitment there because they actually have to purchase something. So that's also pretty interesting. And yeah, I mean, the reason why so other people understand it works really well is because we really understood what was keeping people away from from really signing up. It might be from fearing that you might automatically charge their card like they experience with other companies. It might be that they don't know how they are going to use it, right? And it's just providing use cases for that 30-day period, so they can see, instead of saying you're going to use this for 30 days, is you get to build your entire course, test everything out, like the best plan that Lifter LMS has to offer. You get to test everything and then make your decision, right? Instead of just saying just 30 days, we said you get to play around with everything, like you've paid for it, right? So it's really the no risk out there. So we just kind of changed the angle. We made a big difference.
Yeah, it was super helpful.
Awesome. And I mean, where did you first hear about me, if you still remember that?
I first heard about you when I was literally actually working on that. So for us as a software company, we have a trial demo site. It's there's a little bit of there's different conversion tools. There's trials and there's demos, and ours is kind of a hybrid of both, so it's a little bit confusing. But basically what we have is a temporary website you get for 30 days that has all our add-ons installed with demo content so that people can essentially try before they buy. And we ask them to pay $1 for that to just eliminate spam signups. And there is a cost to hosting,
Tons of
many
videos. Yeah.
hundreds of websites and everything at the same time. So that when we implemented that trial 3 years ago, maybe, immediately our conversions shot up and the amount of money people would pay doubled. So we realized, people don't just, it's good to have good like sales copy and everything, but
Yeah.
people, I call it show in addition to tell marketing. Just show them the product. If your product's really good, let them take it for a test drive. So we implemented that, and it's always been great, and it's always been a high priority project to prioritize how do we improve that? How do we improve the 30-day demo site, the trial, so that we get more revenue per customer, more people buy it. So we're constantly trying to improve it. And I was doing some kind of search for SaaS landing pages, and that's how I fell into your world. And I really, as a student of marketing and copywriting, I have a lot of general knowledge, but to discover somebody like you who is specifically focused on not just SaaS, but SaaS landing pages, I'm like, this is good. And then once I got into your material, I was like, oh yeah, this guy really knows his stuff. And then, I went through your whole process of, connecting and all that. So that's how we met on the internet, and that's how I found you.
Awesome. You kind of fell into my trap.
I did. Yeah.
Yeah. And what made you like what piqued your interest and made you like book the call at the time?
I'm trying to remember. And by the way, just for those of you watching this, I have referred many of my SaaS friends to Pedro, and they love working with you. They love working with you, and they so what he does, it hasn't just worked for me. I trust him with the people who go to me for references and stuff. But what I found with you, I think what it was the like in marketing or conversion stuff, there's like these little tweaks, like, oh, you just need to do this in your subject line or do this in your headline. But you had like an entirely well-structured landing page thing where all these pieces fit together. It's one thing to learn like, oh, this is how you get a great testimonial, or this is how you write a great headline, or this is how you do a good product shot or whatever. But you had it all working together, which I think is rare, because a lot of times marketing and sales people tend to go to like these like one tricks as opposed to like an integrated solution. So you had that integrated landing page where every component has a very specific purpose and they all work together. And that's when I really fell into your trap.
Awesome. Yeah. That's exactly what it's for, because it's really just to show that I'm not focused on those small little tweaks that basically I'm not going to get results, right? If you make like really small changes, you're not going to get small results. It's not like one headline is going to make a big difference. So I probably got through your BS meter after that.
Yeah.
And yeah, since you implemented, that paid trial page that we worked on, what results have you seen, or other results that you've seen from other realizations that you had, some aha moments or something?
Well, the big one was the increase in conversions on the trial, which is like our top priority, because we know once people experience the product, it literally sells itself. So you helped us get more people to experience the product. But just in general, the other results I've seen, when I approach any landing page, you gave me a new operating system for like how to think about it. So that, and also as a consumer, like I have to use a lot of SaaS tools in my business. So it's not that your stuff is just increases conversions. It does, but it also tells the whole story about a software. So you've helped me create better messaging in all kinds of other places, but also when I'm shopping for my own tech that I need to run my business, I'm looking for things like through your framework so that I can make the best decision for myself for on other tools, which is kind of cool. It's kind of a like you have things around like how does it compare to what they're currently doing or the opportunity cost and all this kind of stuff that just helps me be a smarter seller and buyer.
Awesome. I mean, I haven't heard that last use case from many clients, like being able to decide on which other products they would sign up for. Yeah, I mean, I think that sounds really cool. What other areas has this affected? Like, have you changed a little bit how you explain the product on maybe on some of your content marketing or elsewhere? How did that change exactly?
Yeah, I think the big one was thinking about your product as a like what are the big steps that you do, like the big like features. It's easier for software people like myself to get into techno babble and like feature talk all the time and get overly technical. And I think the big thing is just really always having the customer, the user mindset and the goals that they're driving towards and the pains they experience along the way. Yeah, so that affects email copy, it affects other landing pages on the site, it affects just in general content marketing that we create and how we talk about the product and help people when they're in research mode. Because in our niche anyways, people spend a lot of time researching and there's a lot of pain because they we often and this might be true for your software as well if you're watching this, where you're starting at a disadvantage because people feel like they've been burned in the past by
Totally.
an incomplete product or a product that was oversold or overpriced. So when they come in, they're very skeptical. They're very reticent. And they're concerned, and you got to build the trust. So that's but the way you teach communication and stuff, it does all those things through empathy and just clarity of communication.
Yeah, I mean, and now that you talk about that, it's either that or they experience like a product that was like hard to use, and sometimes they just blame themselves. They just say, "Oh, I can just really work with software. Not good using software. I'm not good with computers," or they just assume that all softwares are going to take a long time to set up. They just
Right.
assume they have to change a lot of things in their company, in their process, right? So that's why answering those things is always a big issue, right? Like with your trials, they always assume that they're going somehow to charge your card automatically, or somehow
Yeah.
it's just another marketing trick that they've seen on those Facebook ads, because there are a lot of Facebook ad companies that charge for these trials and then just upsell you to a billion things.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's always a little sketchy.
Or they can't cancel it or whatever. Like they have to call to cancel or yeah, there's all kinds of stuff. But I think you brought up a really important point, which is um, maybe they don't trust you, maybe they don't trust the product, and they may not admit to it openly, but maybe they don't trust themselves. And if you address all that in your landing pages, which your structure does, the sale is just a lot easier.
Yeah, and I mean, this question is kind of similar, related to what you just mentioned. Well, why do you think this change that we made on that page, actually worked?
Um, well, I'll take it from a different angle, which is like, it's so important to track changes because there's a lot of marketing tweaks and stuff I've done which wasn't tracked. But you're like,
Yeah,
of course, you're like, we need to track this. Like, let's do a split test. So we use Google Optimize for that, and so we set up a proper split test. And so I'm always like, I've learned as a marketer, this subject line or that subject line or this headline or that one, that a lot of times people are just guessing and they're making changes without measuring it. So the first thing is, if it's an important, and sometimes we're moving so fast, we can't track everything under the sun. And sometimes we just, yeah, that's a good idea, we make a tweak. But so we set this up for a trial landing page split test. And I think it worked. So I guess why I'm taking it from a different angle is, it doesn't matter what I think. It matters what the customer thinks, and the data in the split test proves it. But the reason why I think it does work, and I'm glad that the data backs it up, is that the messaging is simpler. They can see it all without scrolling. There's a video, which our old version didn't have, that presents the opportunity and probably builds some trust. Like I'm talking on the video, so the software founder, they can see who's behind the company, and their big objections or problems that they've experienced in the past are addressed. And they're not just like about features in the product, they're also about the experience of getting into an actual trial itself, which I didn't even think of to put on the landing page. So those are probably the top reasons why I think it worked, with a
Yeah,
14% increase in conversions.
yeah, you got it. I mean, I think that you're spot on. Partially, 50% of the reason why I mentioned to track it was basically a couple of reasons. One, so you can see the change, and two, so I could brag about it afterwards and tell
Yeah,
you
there
I
you
told
go.
you so, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the thing, is you have to be open-minded if you're going to do like conversion optimization, because everything's an assumption. And when you bring in a professional like Pedro to like help you, you got to be open-minded and humble, and make the changes and work together and see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. You kind of have to be a little bit open-minded, especially because some of the changes sometimes might seem a little too aggressive for the engineer types that are kind of afraid to sell sometimes. Um, yeah,
Yeah,
and
and that's the thing too, is like, you can't, it's not about what you like.
totally.
The worst thing I see all the time, because I'm one of them, is I'm a community-minded software founder. So I'm in programs like SaaS Academy or whatever, like, and people give, software founders give other software founders advice all the time. But it doesn't matter what we think as founders. It matters what our customers and our prospects think. And not every one of those are the same, depending upon what niche you're in. VSB, small business, mid-market, enterprise, there's all niche, industry, technical ability, all this stuff creates this matrix of like what people need to see and hear and read that's different. So it matters what they think, not what we think. And you're really good at building that bridge.
Yeah, I mean, that's something that I mention all the time. You shouldn't ask for landing page feedback, especially from other founders, or
Or your
sometimes you
team.
shouldn't, yeah, or your team. You shouldn't even ask
Yeah.
for feedback from your customers, because when you ask for feedback, they're kind of reading every single word, like looking at a different way. They're looking to provide feedback, not to buy it, right? So they kind of changes the mindset. So you shouldn't ask for feedback either, right? Like my
Yeah,
philosophy, almost like Henry Ford used to say, if I were to ask people what they wanted, I would give them faster horses or something like that. Was this
totally.
famous quote? Yeah. So with that being said, how would you like quantify the ROI of working together?
Jeez. I mean, it's not linear. It's like, because this, like, the closer you get to the conversion point, it's not a linear change. So even a little increase is dramatic. But in terms of quantifying it, like actually implementing the landing page, which I did myself, I didn't use any team member or anything like that. Like, you set me up with what I needed to change. It only took, a little bit of time with you. You prepared the change, and then I implemented it like in an hour or two, and it's
Yeah.
done. And then, so like, the ROI is it's hard for me to put an exact number on it, but it's I mean, it's just no brainer. I don't know if I would say price. I want to say priceless, but it is when somebody who's really good at helping you actually get more leads and sales, like Pedro is, it's hard to put a number on it.
Yeah, I guess we'll take that as an even better answer. Um,
Yeah.
Maybe it's a trick question. You don't know.
And I will add too, like once I saw that how good it was and I referred my friends and then I see them getting good results, that's really the test of the true test of like somebody who's really good at helping with these things is they help you and then they help your friends and they're easy to refer. That's like the when all those that comes together, that's the sign that you're working with somebody who really knows their stuff.
Awesome, man. I'm good to hear that. And to add to that, your friends got even better results than you, so maybe you should be a little,
Yeah, I'm a little jealous
yeah,
actually.
a little
I need to
jealous.
do some more work with you.
Yeah. Yeah. And why did you decided to do business with me? Any particular reason?
Um, well, it's there's several reasons. One is I like people that go deep on a topic and they're focused, which I could tell by getting into your content. And I mean, I'm like an LMS nerd, like coaches, membership sites, courses, online schools, marketing automation, where all that stuff comes together. I'm an absolute nerd. And I can recognize another nerd when I come across one. And you are an absolute nerd when it comes to landing pages and conversion and copywriting. So, but in order to like a nerd can spot another nerd, but then you have to verify it. And the deeper I went into your material, into working with you, I'm like, yep, this guy is not only a nerd, but it works. Some people are like really into something, but they're not necessarily good at it. You are into it and good at it. So that's what it was like to work with you. And just the deeper I went, I mean, like there's like I subscribe to your YouTube channel. I'm on your email list. I love seeing all your teardown. Like the mark of a true nerd is a teardown. Like, hey, this giant company over here with this huge budget is doing it wrong, and I'm gonna say why. Like, go watch Pedro's content and you'll go down the same rabbit hole I went
Yeah, I do like to always do those teardowns and do like a bunch of rants. I
Yeah.
mean, when I do, when you see a nerd, where do you see like I don't know. I literally have probably like 200 videos about the exact same topic, so I can
Yeah.
ramble about it like for months.
Yeah.
Yeah. With that being said, like, what kicked you like over the fence? Um, like, what was the things that like doing your research made you confirm, okay, this is something that I should get help from Pedro?
Um, several things. I mean, the one of them was the not just good ideas, but implementation, like seeing that in some of your content and cheat sheets and resources. Because some people are like idea people, but they're not, they don't really give you something that's structured that you can work with, either in the form of like content or service or whatever. So you had good ideas and you had resources. So you weren't just an idea guy, which is, there's a lot of that out there. So there's that. Also, just getting to meet with you, connect with you. You could tell that you're authentic, trustworthy, and you care like about it, and you're willing to. Like some people have strong opinions, but which you do have, which is good. But then you just get out of the way and let the test run and let the data speak for itself. So just knowing that there's that strong ideas, but also that humility to like step back and let's see what happens and let the no ego, let's let the data run. That's always refreshing when you're working with somebody or an agency or a consultant, that kind of thing. So that all helped make the decision.
Okay.
And you've also like, if you go into Pedro's material and you see other like software companies and you see people and companies like yours that have all the case studies and the before and after, that definitely helps as well.
Yeah, that's why I'm trying to add like a bunch of those, because I should have
Yeah.
documented that a little bit better.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of answer this, but would you recommend others to work with me?
Absolutely, I already have. And I mean, you're easy to refer because you work for me. It works for my friends. I'm trying to get you more clients now because I just know that you have the goods, and I just have a lot of software friends, and I see a lot of them struggling, and many of them aren't as like I'm already because I have a technical co-founder and I'm a marketing nerd. I have a lot of software friends who are technical, or they're like they're one founder and
Yeah.
they're more on the engineering side. So they're even further behind than I was when I started working with you. So that I just know you can help a lot of people. So I'm happy to refer.
Awesome. And who do you think I'm like a good fit with, for a good fit for?
Um, Really, I mean, first of all, I love the focus on SaaS or software. So really any software founder, but especially if I were going to qualify that, someone who has a company that's been in the game for a little while, that they've already they know who their customers are, or at least they think they do, and they've got some movement, and they're at the point where like they're ready to optimize and not just take like a incremental improvement, but get a big improvement, because the fundamental thing with software is the offer, which is at the foundation of what copywriting is, and what you do with landing pages is like, how do we communicate the offer in a way that makes it a no-brainer decision to buy. And by the way, they're going to be super happy after they buy. It's not just like a pushy sales tactic. It's like, how do we clearly communicate? So if that's the kind of, if you're a software founder and that's the kind of, and you really believe in your product and you're frustrated because you know you could be helping more people if you cleaned up your messaging, and you're humble enough to let somebody help you and you're not a know-it-all, I think that's the good fit for Pedro.
Yeah, I mean, I would totally agree. Just with the product thing that you mentioned, for example, in your case, your tool is way better than duct taping all these different stuff, right? So
Right.
that's why I don't work with any SaaS company. If they have a tool that is pretty much the same thing as anyone else, then I can't really sell the advantage. There's really no advantage to sell. So there's really nothing that I can help them do, right? The messaging is just like that last step of making, um, really an irresistible offer on your website. But the rest has to be there. You have to have like a better product, has to be easier to use, something like that, and stuff like that, so we can then sell that. So without that, is really, there's really no magic. I'm just here to give you like the last little push, because you get a lot of credit for making the best solution out there. Yeah, I mean, last question before we get to promote a little bit about you.
Yeah.
Why should someone listening to this interview right now, take action to maybe book that initial call or take action on becoming a client?
Because what got you here is not going to get you there. And if you come to that realization that and that you're ready for like not just incremental improvement, there's no other way to improve your business faster than increasing conversion rates through better copywriting on your key landing pages. So that's why to take action now. And um, I see it with my customers where they by the time we're in a sales conversation or something, they've been in research mode forever. So if you've been like studying copy or trying to work with consultants, and it's just taking forever, or maybe you had some bad experiences or you didn't get the results you hoped, um, that's not how it works with Pedro. So just, you're lucky if you're here is what I'm saying. To work with somebody who is a good person and is a specialist at this and is passionate about it. And yeah, that's why to take action now.
Awesome. I think that's a good answer. Hopefully that helps people make their decision. Now it's a little bit about you, just to really sign off. What would be like your number one piece of advice for also other size founders? Maybe just, it doesn't have to be related to this.
um SaaS founders, if Pedro's coming in before the sale, like let's get the sale, A lot of SaaS founders are not very good at copywriting and marketing and sales pages. After the sale, SaaS founders typically, especially bootstrapped ones, are not very good at onboarding and documentation and the landing pages and the training that happens when people convert. So whether your product is simple or complex, focus some effort on content after the conversion, whether that's documentation, onboarding emails, training courses. Like we do have software founders who use Lifter LMS to onboard customers and get them activated into the product and get the core value. But if you're a software founder, spread the love around before and after the sale in terms of your messaging and your copywriting and your training videos and that kind of stuff. Because if we do all this work to get a customer and then we don't get them onboarded and activated, that's another leaky hole in your bucket.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree, because then it's just going to help you, just retain more customers, get more referrals, and all that stuff. Because that's something that I've really seen. Sometimes, these founders don't know how to manage their time, because they're spending their time training customers where they could have just created a course, or doing a ton of support, or just building unnecessary features where they could have just selected a customer that would be a better fit. So there's really just a ton of things that they're just wasting a lot of time on, that they shouldn't be doing as a business owner. So last question, where can people find you online?
You can find me at lifterlms.com. I'm also easy to find on Twitter at Chris Badgett. And if you're into podcasts, like I said, I'm a nerd about courses and LMS and WordPress and all this stuff. I have almost 300 episodes on a podcast called LMS Cast.
Awesome. Go try Lifter LMS and create a course, to simplify your onboarding and just get more time to focus on something more important. Thanks a lot, Chris, for jumping on, on this call. And thanks everyone for watching.